This is Pod Populi, podcast for the people.
I'm going to say it just like that. So, Jenn with two N's, I'm screwed. I'm Matthew with one T.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I have lifetime misspelled documents. So that's just exactly how we'll start this. You're double N, I'm single T. Welcome to the Tragedy Academy, a show created to bridge societal divides in a judgment-free zone using candor and humor. My name is Jay, and we are here today with Jenn with two N's. How you doing today, Jenn?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Jay?
Living the dream. So Jenn's here today as one of our guests that's here to talk about her life experiences, what she's been through, some trials, tribulations, and highlights, and where she's at now, the clarity that she's gained, and we're going to kind of go from there. So Jenn, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are.
Great. Thanks, Jay, for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. So my name is Jenn with two N's, and I'm here. I'm born and raised in Marshalltown, Iowa, but I've lived here in Tampa for a few years now, and I'm a mom of a 13-year-old son. I wear a couple of hats at home. I juggle I was a stay-at-home mom, but now I'm back in the corporate world. I'm a sales rep, but then I also teach indoor cycle. And then I also have my new business that I've started. So doing a lot of things, but I'm all able to manage this just because of my sobriety. And so that's what I'm here to talk to you guys about today. I've gone through some trials and tribulations, but as of February 12th, 2017, I made the choice to quit drinking and decide to live this sober way of life. And I'm really grateful just one day at a time to do this.
Well, we're really grateful that you made that decision because otherwise you wouldn't be sitting here today.
Right. Exactly.
So we have to become the best versions of ourselves, right? And I found that over the years that when you watch people consume drugs, alcohol, things like that, it's not necessarily something to inebriate their existence, more so that it's to keep them from realizing their true potential. We have a fear for who we can be, who we should be, who we know we can be. And that fear sits on our shoulders. And unlike trauma, which will also cause this, there's also a certain amount of fear that we have for the unrealized potential that we have. And we'll utilize alcohol, drugs, things like that to weight us down. I could have made it, but I had an anchor holding me back or something like that. You appear to approach life very excited, right?
Yes.
Now that you don't have that anchor weighing you down, it seems like you've got a grasp on what is happiness versus what it used to be. So why don't we start at the beginning? How did you recognize that you were in this situation and kind of go from there?
Sure. So really, for me, I always have been a happy person. I've always been very positive. My childhood is nothing traumatic. I grew up with two parents. They're still happily married today. An older brother. So for me, it was never anything traumatic that happened to me in my childhood that caused me to drink. I didn't even know I was a drinker. I honestly didn't even try drinking until I got to college. So it was one of those things that it allowed me to kind of, again, I've always been nice, but it was like a relief. Like I don't have to try so hard. I can just kind of escape and be like, I became my alter ego is Becky. My parents would say, that. "Oh no, here comes Becky." Because they would visit me in college and I would get, after a couple too many, Becky would come out and Becky was belligerent and she was mean and she was aggressive. And that's not really my personality, but I think I finally could let a deep breath. I can just whatever, I'll just be whatever I want to be. And I thought that was bringing me joy and happiness. For me, again, I thought I was just having fun. I really didn't think I was affecting anybody. It wasn't in college, it was just something we did on the weekends. But for me, I went to a suitcase college. I went to the University of Northern Iowa. So a lot of kids go home on the weekends. So our weekend basically started on Thursday nights. The drinks would start. They would be discounted,
very
all you
military.
Yeah, so it was everybody was doing it. Everybody was drinking on Thursday night and then it goes into Friday, Saturday, and then back to Sunday was a little, hungover, or Sunday fun day, hungover Monday, one of those, but I was able to maintain still a, 3.0 GPA. I got my college degree with a minor in marketing. I could have graduated a year early, but I chose to party for one more year because I was there.
Why not?
Right. So like for me, I was still able to, and I was managing 3 jobs at that time too. So I've always been a hard worker. I even like put myself through college. Like I never took out a student loan. So I've just always saved and always just worked really hard. So I would never say that it was that I was sad. That's why I drank. I think it was more just to like escape from worry or anxiety, fear. Like you were saying, you know, it was just one of those like, like a deep breath. Like it was just like an exhale. Like I could finally just not care, which was a nice turn off. Like
Absolutely.
I could just turn it all off and it shut it down and my head could stop for a few hours, you know. But then what was happening is then the next day I was like, what did I say? Who did I hurt? What, you know, how did I get home? Now,
the shame and regret that comes from consuming alcohol. I will point out one thing that you said at the beginning, which I absolutely love. You said that you no longer had to try. Right. And that is very key. And I want to kind of sit on that for a second because a lot of people don't recognize that we try to be what we expect others will be thinking of us.
Right.
Right. We try to live up to an expectation of the climate, the crowd, the meeting, the scenario. And once alcohol becomes involved, then you no longer feel the need to amplify yourself anymore. It's already amplified,
right? Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It gets rid of those inhibitions or the reasons that you don't feel comfortable is because you're not being yourself.
I know.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And as far as having 2 identities, Becky and Jenn, right? I think everybody's got them.
Yeah.
100%. I think that the dance is being able to have lunch with your lion. You've got to be able to sit down and live with that side of yourself and realize that it does exist. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't need to be given a voice all the time. Right? There's ways to live with that. There's reasons for it. Right? Mm-hmm. There's a part of the other side of you that's not addressing something that allows the other to raise its voice.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to kind of hit on that we do put on a mask when we go through life, and we put on different ones. We add war paint, makeup, earrings, whatever we can to it to fit in. But the moment you take the mask off, the weight goes away. And that's a false high with alcohol. It's a true need, right?
Yes.
To get rid of that mask and the need to hold something up there in front of you. However, alcohol is just like some weird temporary fix and gives you the illusion of what you truly would want.
Exactly. Yeah.
In my mind.
Right. It was just a way to escape. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, just growing up in a small town, that's another reason why I didn't like really drink, because I was afraid what would people think? Like, what if my parents,
small town.
Yeah, well, you're right. My small town, I guess for somebody here in Tampa would think it's a small town, but in Iowa, it was 32,000. So that's actually a really big town for Iowa.
Okeechobee, Florida.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We have an Okeechobee, I think, Iowa too.
Is there really?
Or we have some Okoboji. Never mind. My brother's going to make fun of me. But there's something.
It's probably Native American of some sort.
Right.
The naming. That's
exactly.
Lake Okeechobee. It was a very hillbilly town. I understand the dynamics of everybody's got an opinion, knows you, knows your family. If your family's been there for a while, it becomes a lineage. You can become someone outside of your own familial line and be ostracized in seconds in a small town.
True.
Like a pariah within moments if you don't walk the line.
Right. And my parents had a great reputation. I mean, my mom was a teacher and then she also sold real estate. And then my dad was a UPS driver. So, I mean, everyone knew my parents. Yeah. So, I mean, they were very active in church. Yeah. No. Yeah. They all knew us. They went out of town once. There's a funny story. Sorry, Jay. I'm going to just drop this in here. So Long John Silver's one of my favorite fast food places. I know. See, it's exciting stuff. No. My brother and they went away for the weekend and we just got this like convertible. So Barry and I'm going to name drop my brother, Barry.
Nice.
You know,
what's up, Barry? Heard you like EDM, DJ music. I had Jason Heffler from EDM.com, the managing editor, on yesterday. So yeah, check out the episode, dude.
Big time DJ. So basically, my parents went out of town. So we thought, well, they're not going to know. We'll just use their car. And they all, the whole town, not the whole town, a few people said to my dad, well, we saw your kids in the drive-thru at Long John Silver's. So we couldn't even get away with
you
like
didn't even
using
get busted
the cart.
somewhere cool.
Right. It's sad. It's very, very sad. And if fast forward, you'll hear in my story too. I don't know if I want to jump ahead, but my brother is also in recovery. So I want to mention that as well. But
Dude, that makes it even better though, right?
Yeah.
But you can't, it's not cool to get grounded for hush puppies.
Right.
Like,
I still love the hush puppies.
Right?
It's like the best.
So good.
They're so good. It's just the crumbles at the bottom
I'll
are
tell you
awesome
what,
too.
I'll give a story too about fish fast food related item before we go to break.
Let's hear this.
Because I want to get to where we're going with the next section where you said the next day, right? It's always cold on the bathroom floor.
Right.
Son of a bitch.
Yes.
Right? So I worked at Long John Silver's rival, Captain
Rival.
D's.
Oh boy.
Which was like, I don't know, low rent Long John Silver's, but it had good food. Right. So I think I was like 16 or so. And I remember it was one of those days where we had like a school holiday. So I got to work during a weekday during the day, which you never really did. You were always, you'd always come in you wouldn't be part of the kitchen crew in the morning. Kitchen crew in the morning and pimply faced kid at 16 in the afternoon are two totally different scenarios, right?
Yeah.
These are people in different life structures, positions. They're oil and water. You don't bring in the goofy kid to stand next to. I can only sum this up. I don't know. I don't remember this gentleman's name. And he scared the living shit out of me every day that I did see him, like when he was leaving in the afternoon. But I came in one morning and it was like, I don't know, 7 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And we're doing prep work. That's when you like set up all the crap in the kitchen, right? And I see him standing with his back to me and he's got a hairnet on. And this dude has like tattoos on his chest, his hands, down his finger, like everywhere. He looks very similar to Danny Trejo.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm terrified because he doesn't talk. He just is always just doing something and he doesn't say a word. He's not smiling. He's not anything. And I remember I looked at him and he was making coleslaw. And I was like, okay, I see the glove on his hand, which by the way, moot point.
Yeah.
Nope. There was no need for this glove after I tell you this story.
Oh boy.
Because he's sitting there and I see him scooping this coleslaw on this big, bucket thing. And I'm like, that's normal. And then as I'm walking by him to get up to the fryers, I look to my right and he had what had to be an entire Marlboro hanging out of his mouth with 3/4 of the ash still on it.
Oh my gosh.
Like a real man. He's one-handing it. And he's got that cigarette right out of his mouth. And I'm like, oh dear God. And I remember I went over to like prep the area I was at. I probably was making hush puppies.
Right.
And I remember it was so quiet. Because there wasn't any machines running yet, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's he going to do? What's he going to do with this cigarette? That's all I could think was this cigarette. What's he going to do with the ash?
Where's it
was
going to go?
Long. And then I remember it just got completely quiet and I heard. And I looked back and he was like, just kept dumping his hand in there.
Man.
He stirred the ashes right up in it. I've never eaten coleslaw since.
Okay, and I've never gone to Captain D's, and I'm happy I never have.
That dude scared the bejesus. I never told anybody. I didn't tell on him. I didn't. Hell
until
no.
today.
Somebody's Nana was eating
gross. Oh my God.
Marlboro coleslaw.
This is funny.
That's our next sponsor. Speaking of sponsors, we'll let somebody pay the bills. We'll be right back.
Right.
Welcome back. We were just getting ready to talk about after I hijacked the show and we went on Fish Talk. What was it? Your local fast food seafood restaurants?
We didn't go from sobriety to Long John's.
I'm sorry. I think that has been the result of a lot of drinking for a lot of people.
Well, it was definitely the hangover cure for a few times too.
Man, dude.
Just not in high school. I had to wait until,
So let's talk about the hangover the day after. That's where we were going
that's the
with
worst.
this. It is, right?
You got to think about that. But I never thought about that. Like I was like, oh, well, it's fine. I'll just basically lose my whole day tomorrow. But being like, I would get really sick. I would get, I wouldn't even probably go out. Like I would make sure like I would try to have like
home shit.
Whatever was greasy enough to have at home or delivered, but it had to open later. Like that, like it's all the pre-planning of your hangover. That was the silliest part too. Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh. again, normal drinkers don't think like this. But for me, yeah, the hangovers were the worst. And it was the shame too. I think I woke up more like feeling of shame and remorse and regret. And especially towards the end when I would always tell myself, oh, I'll only have like one or two. And then it was like, I woke up going, shoot.
Yeah, I challenged somebody for 3 shots.
Yeah. It's like, where did my night go? I mean, but...
And I think that that's something that a lot of people are not aware of with people that have addictions, that there is an actual layer of guilt and shame that has to be worn underneath the other coat that is, I'm doing okay.
Right.
And a lot of people won't see that there's that hidden gel just flowing through at any given moment underneath that facade that everything's all right of what did I do yesterday? Am I doing too much? Did somebody see me do that? You know, how am I being perceived? Right. Oh my God, I did do that. And maybe they're going to think it's about my drinking. What if they take my drinking away? I've got to come up with a way to find out with it or make this appear like that it wasn't drinking. It was more so that I'd had a bad day or X or Y happened or some kind of reframing. I call that reverse Tetris.
Okay.
The day after consumption of drugs and alcohol, we will go back into our brains and begin to reassemble the moments to what we hope is a justifiable scenario where we didn't do anything that wrong.
Right.
Everything is okay.
Yeah.
I can just get to next Thursday.
And I'd be like, well, everybody else was doing it. Maybe I just drank a little too much. Maybe it wasn't that bad. Like I can fast forward the tape and look at it through the rose-colored glasses. Like maybe it really wasn't that bad. And then like every time, it just got worse. Like, I don't know. I thought I had it managed, but I really clearly didn't. It was the unmanageability that got a lot out of hand.
What does unmanageability look like?
Well, like for me, I would go to the grocery store and intentionally know that I needed to have enough alcohol in the house so that I would like not have to go back out because I wasn't. This is where I was very smart in my drinking, or the yets hadn't happened. I don't know if you've heard that before. Like I didn't get a DUI. There's a pause yet. Right. Because if my drinking is progressive, like I've read and known, then that was going to be coming. But like for me, it was like the unmanageability was thinking like ahead of time, like pre-planning my drinking. Like before I even picked up the first drink, I just knew once I started, I'm going to want to keep drinking and I don't want to have to leave the house and go back to the store because that's not safe. It's totally more safe to just have it all already in the house.
Yeah, just get loaded.
And that's just the unmanageability of my life. And like, and I was very responsible. Like I like to, again, still think like, oh, I was doing all the right things. I could still drive my son to school. I could still manage a job. I could still, like do all the things. I could still look presentable out in public. Like, but meanwhile, I'm over here making sure I get enough wine for the weekend. Like that's not normal. Like that's not a normal drinker.
That's functional middle class America.
I know.
And more people are going to resonate with what you're describing than you could possibly imagine.
Right.
Middle class America is full of the sabbatical, the time off for mental health and all these different things. But it's probably a lot more than people realize, a mask for what might be a certain amount of dependency or something in there that is being, covered up.
Right. Exactly.
To a certain degree. And that's not to say that it isn't any different than any other mental health problem.
I know.
Right. I mean, to exist, to be human is to be mentally ill. It's called the human condition for a reason, right? Because we're all jacked up. We're just finding different ways to play by society's rules.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you can't handle it, you find some good substance to help you get through it.
Exactly. And I was finding people that were like-minded like me. I sought out friends that drank like me, that looked and acted similar to what my drinking style was. And if they didn't drink like me, then I really didn't really be their friends. And I know that's not sounding great, but like being a stay-at-home mom, the mommy wine culture's out there. Like, I was the one that, initiated it too. Like, hey, we can be great. Like, why not? We work 24 hours a day. Why not have wine at our play dates? And I made it like normal. I mean, acceptable. And everybody else. Yeah. Like,
they did too. Nap
time is the new happy hour, I think is what I called it. Yeah.
Oh man, dude. I haven't drank in like 10 years, I think.
Oh, great. Longer than me.
But it just, I didn't like how I felt the next day. Like there was never man, I'm glad I did that.
Right.
Like there was never that. And I just, finally I was just like, no more. And now, honestly, if I smell it, it kind of turns my stomach.
Yeah.
Right. Because I leaned on it a lot when I was in the corporate world. I mean, that's what you do, especially when you travel and you're with, people making presentations for 6 figures to different companies.
Wow.
You're expected to go out and sit down and eat a meal and drink and then step over to the bar and stand there. People used to give me shit because I would sneak like those IBC root beers or like whatever. Because it looked like a beer bottle and I would just kind of hug it so nobody would notice. And then eventually that asked, and then I switched off to what I did. What the hell was it?
Club soda and lime all day.
Club soda and lime is one, but I would do grenadine and Coke.
Okay.
And
nobody needs to know what's in your cup. Yeah,
exactly. You had to like kind of mask it. But now that I look back on it, I'm like, I'm a dumbass for not just looking at them and going, what is wrong with you?
Right.
Why are you trying to pressure me? What are we, 8? Where's the after school special right now?
Exactly. And then why do we want to go to a meeting and be completely hungover? Like, what the heck did we do or say last night? Like, because I go on those corporate, because again, after college, it was like game on and those sales trips, it's adult spring break. So,
it is.
I mean, and I'm like, how do they intentionally do this? They make it an all-inclusive resort and then they expect us to get up at 8 a.m. for these meetings. So I think I'm like, they're trying to seek out if we can balance, I don't know, the work-life balance.
If they can make that trophy sparkly enough and that trip to Hawaii look good enough, then you're going to get up and you're going to use whatever illicit drug it takes to get more connect calls or marketing connects or whatever they are. And you will feel like you didn't do well enough, even though you grinded until your knuckles bled knocking on doors to sell whatever the hell they're selling. Right?
And the next year,
that's
you just got to sell more.
Weird dynamic. And it creates these microcosms where we start to self-medicate because we're not meeting the standards of people that don't give a fuck about us.
Right. 100%.
We have these mini lives that hang underneath these pendulums of companies that are not being paid attention to.
Right.
I don't know. That's just my opinion on it.
And for me too, so going from the corporate world and then becoming a stay-at-home mom and not even realizing I was going to be a stay-at-home mom, that was the isolation. And that's when my drink even progressed more. I mean, after my son, I was able to quit drinking. Let me be clear. When I got pregnant with my son, I did not drink. When I nursed him for the entire year after, I did not drink. So I was always, and honestly, it was
capable.
Yeah, I was capable of quitting. It was just staying stopped. Here's the thing. I couldn't then stay stopped. Once I would start again, then it was it maybe 1 that day, but then next day it was maybe 2. And then pretty soon it's I'm drinking like I was in college again. And I'm like, this is not a normal drinker. But I was able to quit. I just want to know that I can be a grown up and I could, be pregnant and be a responsible adult and do what I'm supposed to do. But
we worry what people are going to think about us when, we're talking so candidly on air. And I don't think my audience has ever made the assumption that someone like you would come onto the show that has done things like that would openly laugh and joke about their scenario. So no.
Okay.
I don't think anybody thinks that. In fact, I believe that that's a whole other scenario in and of itself, because that's somebody that is, I think they're drinking for a different reason then.
Right.
I think everybody's got a reason.
Sure.
And that one is much worse in a different direction. That if it would allow you to not have the wherewithal to make a decision to not drink while pregnant, that's a severe mental illness coupled with.
Sure.
In my mind.
Right.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's a progressive disease. Who's to say? I mean, but I definitely, when I found out, I was like, nope, it's over. We're going to just not. And then it was great. It was easy. Actually, even when I quit drinking, my mom's like, can't you just pretend you're pregnant? And I'm like, no, I really want to just pretend that I'm pregnant just so that I wouldn't drink. But I understand her philosophy. And people who aren't really alcoholics, they don't really understand that it is something in the mind. It's not just putting down the drink. It's a mental obsession that takes over.
It is an umbrella from the rain that is pain.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. It's something that you can hold up can't hold it up long because it's heavy as fuck. It collects the water. It's like backwards.
Right.
Right? It's like holding a wine glass over your head to keep yourself out of the rain. Right? But eventually what happens, you run out of power and it comes smashing down and you get the pain plus everything that you collected that you thought you were avoiding from underneath it.
Right.
Right? All at the same time. It's a big effing lie. It's all it is. It's your mind saying, hey, let's confuse the shit out of you and tell you everything's all right.
Exactly.
Because tomorrow's going to suck.
I know. Well, we're going to keep drinking anyway. Yeah.
Right? Well, I want to take a break.
Okay.
And then when we get back, I'm going to ask about how you're applying this newfound clarity to your life.
Okay.
All right?
That's good.
We're sitting here discussing the studio and all the cameras and stuff around in it. And I can tell you, man, it disappears. It disappears during these conversations.
Right. It does.
It really just becomes a backdrop to what is self-discovery, right? So someone like yourself has gone through what you said was a good childhood. You had a good college experience. You did what most America would say is normal at that point.
Check those boxes, yes.
Right? You went on to corporate America. They make that seem like it's flashy. They throw you alcohol and money and, expenses and this and that, and they make you feel like that. So you've gone through all these steps. Now you've realized, maybe I bought too much of this and I'm living in what is a socially acceptable alcoholic state.
Right.
Right? Because they sell you a shirt, it's like, wine time, 9:30.
Rosé all day.
All that shit. Right? And so now you've come to the conclusion that this is not JENN.
Right.
Right? This is you looking for a new future. How did you put the brakes on?
That's hard. I mean, I knew I was a functioning alcoholic, but I want to say that my bottom was still pretty high. Like I didn't feel like I hit the rock bottom. I was not the woman under the bridge. I did not feel like although the time kept getting earlier and earlier, I didn't feel like it was like, it just didn't feel like it was that bad yet. Again, going back to the yet. But people around me started to notice. 10 years before I even got sober, my brother had given me a book because he got sober at 26. And he knew my drinking was progressive. And he said, maybe you should just take this book. It was Living Sober, take this book, think about it. I didn't want to read that. I was like, I'm still having fun.
It has the truth in it.
Yeah. And then I'm thinking to myself, if he thinks he's an alcoholic, then I'm really an alcoholic. Because wow. Because I hid it. Like I hid it from my parents. Like I was still trying to be like, I'm sweet and I don't really have a problem. Like I can still come to the family functions and not act that much of a fool until Becky comes out and then it does get bad, but not every time. So again, I didn't really feel like it was a problem. But people around me started noticing, and then people, not that they were talking bad about me. It was more out of love. Like, honestly, people were coming to me like, Jenn, you're really just drinking a lot more than you've ever drank before. Is everything okay? Well, things aren't okay, but I was using it to just like kind of like coast and like numb myself out and not feel, like I didn't really want to let people in on what was like really going on. And so I would just drink like, I'm just having fun and it's not hurting anybody. When in reality, it was starting to hurt everybody else around me. And I didn't see it like that. I just thought I was hurting myself with the shame and the guilt the next day. So yeah, a few friends would come almost every year for my birthday. And she told me that the drinking, just gosh, every year I come, it's like, it's worse and worse. And I was married at the time. Right. Very good friend. We're still friends today. We were mom friends, like we drank the wine together at the play dates. Like, and that's the thing too, is I felt like, how am I the one with the problem when everybody around me is drinking just as much, if not more than me? But it was affecting my life. Like it was making me not the authentic self that God intentionally wanted me to be. Like I was just pouring alcohol on it. And like, I could have fun in high school without alcohol. So why was I using that as a coping mechanism now? And I didn't know. And I thought it would be easy to quit. I really didn't think like, okay, fine. Like, or maybe I can cut back. So I did the whole like, I'll only drink on the weekends, or maybe I'll just drink, again, couldn't do it. I couldn't just drink only on the weekends, or I couldn't just drink for a special occasion or things like that. Like I definitely tried. And it got to the point where I was starting to pass out on the couch in the night, like I was, and it was visible, and it was like, and somebody had taken a video and threatened to send it to my parents. And I was like, well, that's not very nice. But again, whatever they had to do to get me to like, kind of like, whatever, like get her going. But they didn't, but they, threatened that. And that was enough of a fear again, because I don't want to feel like I was doing anything wrong. Because like, again, I felt like everybody else was, and I was just another one. And like I said, I was still responsible driving my son to school, things like that. But it did get to the point where I was like, okay, enough is enough. Like I really am. It's going to get worse. Like if it's this bad now, imagine when my son goes to high school, or when he, like when I have to actually drive him places in the evening, like things like that I'm like, if I'm using alcohol every night, I'm not going to be able to drive him to a friend's house or pick him up from practice.
Yeah, you can't go to the school play.
Right. I can't, and so he was 5 when I got sober. So my son is 13 now. And, but my now ex-husband had threatened rehab for me. And he said, I didn't sign up for this. I'm going to just drop you off at rehab. And I was like, no, you're not. Because again, the fear of like, well, what if old work finds out? Or what if all the moms in the mom group find out? Or the neighbors, like, what are they going to say? So I did not want to do rehab. And I said, absolutely not. I'm not going to rehab. And I don't know if you want me to go further into the story. Like
you're hitting all the nails on
right. Like this was, but this is real life. This is what happened. Like he just said, that's what I'm going to do. And then meanwhile, he goes away on a business trip. And those were my favorite times to drink. I'm not going to lie, Jay. Like he would be out of town. Nobody's counting my drinks. Nobody's worried. So he have alcohol in the house and he goes on a business trip. And I'm like, well, now, but I didn't want to drink because I was like, he told me he's going to drop me off at rehab. I had enough fear, I had enough willpower, and my mind was still like, okay, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. And a fear of losing my son. Like I never wanted to think something would happen. Like I really wanted to save my marriage. I was like, I just got to quit drinking. So if I got to quit drinking, then I guess I didn't want to quit drinking completely, but if that's what I got to do, then let me try it. So I white knuckled it at home for about 2 weeks. And I was miserable. I was really angry because it's my best friend. And I know that sounds silly. And
no, it's a break.
Right.
It's a crutch. And it's something that you learn to rely on when you're not giving yourself the love and care that you deserve and you're replacing it with something like that. It's just a temporary scenario.
Right. It was just, so I'm thinking, okay, now you've taken away all of my coping mechanisms. Like I would drink when when it's sunny, when it's raining, all of the things. And so now I had to live life without something. And so that was hard. It was very hard the first 2 weeks. So I just basically was a mute. Like I just didn't I didn't want to be around people because I was afraid they'd make me drink. I didn't want to I still had the alcohol in the house. I was really just but really, to be honest, most of the alcohol that was still left in the house was my husband's at the time. So and it was the harder stuff. I was a beer and wine girl. I really didn't even drink hard things. I just drank enough of those small things that just felt anyway. But, and at the 2-week mark, I was like, my mom said, you're miserable. You need to go to a meeting like Barry. You need to be like a brother and go to a meeting. And I said, I don't want to be like those people. I was like, I do not want to go to a meeting. And, but I did. I took her advice and she came with me on my first meeting, and it was the stereotypical, what I had expected it to be. I did not share. Didn't feel like, I didn't even feel like I could relate. People will go into those meetings and be like, oh my gosh, everything they said was exactly how I feel. I didn't feel that on my first meeting. I'll be honest. I just didn't feel it. So the next day, again, didn't want to go to rehab. So I was like, they said, come back. So I'll just go back again, but this time I'll go by myself. And it was a smaller meeting. I was actually down in Venice, Florida. So I didn't even go to my first meeting here in Tampa. And it was a circle. So people were I want to say there was 15. There wasn't very many. So it was less intimidating for me.
Yeah, probably more personal, more intimate.
Yeah. It wasn't this big cafeteria with 40 people, old, white, drinking coffee. The stereotype.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Gotcha. No,
exactly
I'm with
what
you.
it was. It was exactly how I had pictured it the first day, but I still went back because I was trying to give it a shot. Because obviously what I was doing at home wasn't working because I was just angry.
Fair enough.
And so I went back and they were in a smaller circle and you had to go around. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. So they called on me, or it was my turn, and I just started crying. And I said, my name's Jenn. I don't know if I'm an alcoholic. But my husband is on a business, or he wasn't on a business. Now he's on a bachelorette party this time. So he was gone a lot. And that's why I drink. And it's not his fault that I drink a lot, but I did drink because I was lonely. But he was on a trip and on a bachelorette party, and I was at home and I wanted to drink. And he wants me to go to rehab, and I don't want to go to rehab. So I need to quit drinking for my son. I need to get sober. And I just cried, and that's all I could really say. And that was enough for them to hear. And then I do remember a lady at the end of the meeting when she was handing out the white chips. That's the thing you got to do, surrender and join this way of life. She said, I came for my kids and I stayed for me. And that resonated a lot for me.
That's very wise words.
Right. And it's true. You
can't help others.
Yeah.
If you're not helping yourself. It's kind of like, what is it? You don't get anything until my cup runneth over.
Right.
Because
there you go.
I'm no good to you if I don't have my full potential to give you.
Yes.
Right? I'm bringing you crap.
Right.
I'm bringing you the last slice of pie, telling you you've got enough for a party. Right?
Right.
And I shouldn't do that. You want the full...
right. I need to be a better mom for him. If this is what he thought he signed up for, now this is really who he got, but we'll get to that. But I'm just thinking I could resonate with that. So from there on, that was my first and only white chip, if you're familiar with the program. And, and so my sobriety date is February 12th. I don't know if I mentioned that, 2017. So I did just celebrate 8 years, and that was my now new start, on a newfound life, where
I absolutely love that. And I think that you touched on quite a few things in there. But what I'd like to point out more than anything is the fact that you were looking for authenticity, right? Because someone like yourself, it is kind of an enigma when someone is drinking but has a stable childhood, drinking but has a college degree, drinking, but, and people will try to filter that.
Right.
And try to figure out what makes that. And they're going to give you a backstory regardless, right? That's how the mind works. We need to justify what somebody is in front of us. And you aren't. You weren't those things, yet you were behaving in a way that would appear like what we believe is the reasons for drinking, drugs, or whatever it might be.
Right.
My mind, I think that those are symptoms. Drinking, drugs, all those nefarious activities that give us a dopamine release are symptoms. They're cries from a self that has been contained and is not allowed to reach their full potential. We have layers over time that are given to us. We're told how to be. We're told who we are. We're told what to believe. We're told what the stations are at each and every juncture and whether or not we're successful, whether to feel shame, guilt, all those things. And they're layered over time and layered over time. But it's kind of like a glass. If you continued to paint a glass that was over a flame and you kept coating it, but it had just enough air in there, you'd know the flame was there. But you just kept layering it on there, right? But in reality, all you have to do is smash that glass. And what happens? You have a beautiful, uncontained flame that was always there the whole time, right? But it couldn't get out. Because why? Because we were painting it because somebody said blue's the best color. Well, now it's red. Tomorrow it's green. Then it's going to be orange. But what happens when you paint things over and over and over again? Right? Everything is only seen from the outside. The color doesn't shine through. You're not giving light through paint to create orange. You're painting orange over black, over green, over blue. And none of them are what? You.
Right.
And that's what I believe people are trying to do. They're trying to deal with the fact that they can't be themselves.
I can see that. Yeah. Right. I was using alcohol to cover up who I really was, and
because
losing
we
my
don't
light.
love ourselves.
Yeah, right.
We don't love ourselves. We'll be right back.
Okay.
All right, we're back.
All right.
And I ended that by saying we don't love ourselves. And I believe that's the truth. And a lot of people say, well, Jay, I love myself. Look, I work out, or I do this, or I do that. And you have to ask yourself, why? Why the list of those things?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why do I work hard for this job? Why do I work hard for this car? Why do I work hard for this image? Right?
Yeah.
None of those are required to live. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the only animal with a fucking tuxedo is a penguin. Right? They don't need jobs. Right?
Yes.
No more than we do, beyond what we're naturally inclined to do. If you're artistic, be artistic. You're good with numbers, go be good with numbers.
Right.
Money and society come to you, right? We're born a puzzle piece. Each and every one of us come out. You're a corner, you're a centerpiece, you got like half with that goofy looking piece on the other side. Whatever it is, you're a puzzle piece. And we will spend more time cramming ourselves into positions in a puzzle that we don't fit, bending corners, getting drunk so that we feel okay about where we're at. Right now, it's okay, right?
Yeah.
But in reality, those that are not drinking with you or to that level can see that your right edge is bent to shit and back to fit in this scenario, and they're like, "Yo, why are you doing a chicken wing right now?"
Yeah.
You don't see it, but you're sitting there like this with your elbow up in the air the whole time. It's not obvious. But the moment that you flatten yourself back out and you love the fact that you're this one puzzle piece, you know what? I am blue.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, I want to be blue
right.
because I'm the best blue there is, right? And then what happens? You go to that blue section of the puzzle, right? And pieces start fitting around you, right? And you don't have to bend a corner. You don't have to be a different person. You don't have to have a drink in this association. You know, you don't have to have eyes looking at you as the happy one when, you know, you show up into a party. When in reality, the one that's drinking the most is trying to hide the most, right? From themselves more than anything. It's not even from anybody else. This weird ass dichotomy where we're having a play against ourselves in front of everybody else, calling it fun.
Right, exactly.
Look at me. Look at me. And you're running around. Everybody's like, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, thumbs up.
We're all, but we're all in the play.
Yeah.
Just because somebody's using alcohol doesn't mean that they're any different than you.
Yeah.
Right? You've got your alcohol out there. Everybody's got their disease. Everybody's got their coping mechanism, because what they don't tell you is every house in middle class America is an old Western set. It is just a face, a facade, with 2 2x4s behind it and families laying in tears behind it, pretending. They come out the front door, they wave at each other. Hey, Chuck. Hey, Bob, like you're on Edward Scissorhands, and they all leave at the same time. They all come back at the same time. What they don't show you is mom or dad going inside, running into the bathroom, grabbing Xanax out of the medicine cabinet, hitting a highball, you know, crying in the bathroom for 2 hours before this, or not being able to take care of their kid that's self-medicating for whatever. There's all that shit's going on behind there. The only reason why we point at, you know, lower socioeconomic divides is because we don't have the implicit bias that allows us to get through the filter the first time.
Right.
We assume they have problems because they're poor. Right? Bullshit.
Right.
Right? No.
Yeah.
And we believe you're happy. I grew up poor.
Right.
And all these houses, we think that that's where it's going to become happiness. Well, if I get a car, a degree, and a wife. Wife. All right. Get one of those. And then
you'll be happy.
Yeah. And you start selecting and checking it. Right. And then eventually I'll be happy. You know, you were happy when you were a kid, when you weren't trying to be other things.
Right.
Trying to be. You shouldn't have to try to be anything.
Just be me.
Just be you.
Right.
Right. And I think that's what I've seen since I've met you, is that it's a flame without a glass.
Thank you.
Right. You can feel when somebody is at a place where they're happy with who they are and what they're doing with their place in life, you know, or their lot, or with their family, or whatever you want to call it. Right. I see that in you. I see that you're being a lighthouse. You're acting on your true authenticity and intentions. A lighthouse is something to me that remains beautiful because it doesn't have to be anything else to serve its purpose.
Right.
And others will find their way by watching them do what? Just be a lighthouse.
Right.
That's all you have to do. You can be the best scientist, the best funny car driver, the best Mickey Mouse impersonator. I don't give a shit what it is, but just be the best of it.
Right.
Money comes, people come, locations will come. All of that will fall into place. But if you feel inclined to holler and target and give somebody a high five, the person walking by you probably was in a state of mind where that might have brought them out of something.
You're right.
You don't feel inclined to do things. You don't feel inclined to do things unless there's a reason. Right? So you felt inclined to get better.
Yes.
You felt inclined to be a better mother, a better figure in society, whatever it is, right? But I'm going to tell you right now, you were always perfect.
Thank you.
Right? And now you're showing everybody the real Jenn.
Right.
Right? So thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming into my life and being around my family and, you know, seeing you interact with your community. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Right? And I want you to continue to tell yourself that. Okay? And you can tell anybody where they want to find you if they want to link up or how they can, if you have any advice or anything like that.
Okay.
You want to go ahead and share that?
Yeah, I was just going to add, I'm a better mom. I'm a better friend. I'm a better, daughter, just because I don't drink one day at a time. And really, you guys can find me on F3 platforms, actually. So Jenn Bowler's my name. So it's Jenn with 2 N's _ and then Bowler, Bouler. And then I also teach the indoor spin. I mentioned that. So that's Jenn with 2 N's _B and _spin. So Jenn B Spin. And I met you guys. So thank you. I got a chance to walk Riley this year. And so it's Jenn Walks Dogs. So that's Jenn with 2 N's. I love that. Before we wrap up, I actually want to say something about that. I wasn't sure if you were going to talk about it. Do I want to mention it or not? But it's something that I'm love and I'm passionate about. And it's just, it's really been a joy to my life. But Jenn _walks _dogs. So
that's absolutely amazing. And I think that's one of the coolest things about what you do. And I think that we don't recognize enough that dogs bring a slice of love to us that we don't deserve. And we will never be able to shower them with enough love in their lifetime since it's so short. And for someone like yourself that shows up at a door and takes the dog that's not going to be doing something otherwise and go out there for a walk, I mean, honestly, you're giving her what she deserves and you get a bonus. You get somebody's dog's love.
Exactly. It's great. It's so great. It's emotional. Yeah. It's therapy for me, so it's exercise and therapy and I get to meet families and then take them back. It's like having kids, I'm just teasing. But no, it's been wonderful. It's been a great business. And I get to meet families like you guys. So thank you, Jay, so much. I'm so grateful. I didn't even know you had a podcast when I showed up and you invited me on and I'm really honored. So I saw your post and it really struck home. And I thought a lot of people could, resonate with this. So again, thank you for your strength in vulnerability. You're welcome back anytime. And remember, everybody, check out TragedyAcademyStudios.com or the Tragedy Academy for the podcast. And remember, be cool and keep learning.